Hey, how's it slashing? So, I've had this sword here for a little while. More than a little while, admittedly. And I've been procrastinating on reviewing it for two reasons. One, something happened that I found a little suspicious. Namely, originally I got the sword from a company called, or a website called swordbuy.com. And then a while later, I got an email telling me, hey, just to let you know, the new website is swordbuy.co, sent from a different email address than the one that I originally communicated through. Which is, could be legit, might not be. The old website is still there. And the problem with that, of course, is anyone can do that. Like anyone can just set up a new website that is very similar to the legit one and scam people through it or sell copies or whatever, and you wouldn't really know, right? In this case, it's probably legit, but I have some doubts about it. And the other is something that very rarely happens. I don't want to test it. So far, the test cutting I attempted did not go well at all. Now, looking at the slow-mo footage, I can tell that the edge alignment turned out terrible. The handle twisted in my hand on impact quite a lot, which was rather jarring, and it's already a little bent. Now, of course, user error. I can't really blame the sword for it, and I don't quite know what makes this difficult to align, because, as you probably know, I don't normally cut that poorly with a wide variety of swords. This one here, I don't know. The handle, I want to say it should allow me to feel the edge alignment pretty well, but not really. There's something off about it. I can't quite put it into words, but the difference between, I don't know how well you can see that, but the difference between this and that, I can barely tell. I'm not entirely sure why that is, because the handle is not round and the handle feels pretty decent overall, so not entirely sure what's going on with that. But either way, so I figured I should try it some more, because the edge is okay. The bevel is, unremarkable is what I would call it. It goes from this fuller here to the edge. There's no secondary bevel. And I find the sweet spot is quite low under these cutouts. So the good news is if and when that breaks off, the rest of the blade should still be able to cut. So the thing is, I want to try something else, because I have a suspicion that any extra time spent on this trying to cut with it cleanly and extra money spent on tatami mats might be wasted, if my hunch is correct. We'll find out. First, I want to show you some close-ups. And you'll see immediately why, when I first unboxed this, my reaction was basically, "What art thou thinking?" Of all the things to use to fill a gap, and sloppily I might add, this is the weirdest I've ever seen in over 2 decades of handling and reviewing swords. What were they thinking, indeed? In the product pictures, the ball chain seems to match the decorative elements pretty well, but when you see the sloppy mess in person, it's not exactly what I would describe as ornamental. So the guard is made of 2 halves. I'm honestly worried that they just glued them together. In fact, hang on. Don't I see some glue residue there? That is not what you want to see. Same as here, there's glue as well. These 2 halves of the scabbard fitting. Oh boy, I've rarely seen such sketchy work on a hilt, I have to say. This is what originally caught my eye. The 2-pronged tip is quite interesting, not something you normally see. And I was curious how it would do. And the finish looks neat. It's got this bronze finish coating. I'm assuming it's anodized. The blade is aesthetically quite appealing overall. Very much unlike the hilt. Anyway, so let's see if my suspicion is correct. So as far as I'm concerned, and I'm sure you can agree with that, the most realistic test you can do of a sword is to see whether it can protect you from another sword using historical techniques. One of the classics you see in many sources is a deflectional parry with the false edge or the spine. And keep in mind, this is easier on the blade than it would be realistically, because if the opponent swings it forward, then they're adding their velocity to this whole thing. As you can see, the setup has quite a bit of give, which of course is intentional. The opponent may also strike directly into the blade, either again as a deflectional parry. If this cut comes in, I hit the flat, it's going to deflect it. Or if I want to get it out of the way, I may beat it first and then go for the real attack. Yep, that's what I thought. The two halves are already starting to spread apart. Well, there's a yikes and an oof. Even seeing it disassembled, if you will, I still have no idea what the hell is up with the chain. What is that for? What did that do? Okay. Guys, did you know Lego makes swords? I have never seen a construction like this. Okay, now the other way around, because a sword also needs to be able to do these things actively. Now the other half goes to just slapping it flat on flat, because that's more gentle. I have to say, the blade itself is holding up better than I thought. Yeah, so this is why historically, when they made a guard of two halves, they would rivet the halves together, as you can see here, or maybe weld them. Or more commonly, make the guard of one piece with an opening that you drive the tang through for a tight pressure fit, rather than put it together in the manner of a Kinder Surprise toy. I mean,
I don't know what they were thinking.
That's what happens when you do this. I mean, there was nothing holding this whole thing together other than the glue, which, as you can see, didn't do a fantastic job. I was surprised by the blade. I was really expecting it to snap off right here in particular, or perhaps there. And in fact, if I were to try to chop wood with it, that would probably happen. But I do consider that less appropriate, a less realistic test than what I did. It can still be appropriate. In fact, there's even a historical precedent for testing sword blades on lumber. So it's not completely unreasonable by any means. Again, still being fairly gentle compared to real combat, where both blades would meet with considerable force on each side. Of course, there is edge damage, which is unavoidable with blade-on-blade contact. Even when you're going edge against flat, it is going to be damaged, absolutely. But that's not too bad. It's about what I would expect generally. So the blade is pretty decent, better than I expected. And it's interesting that the blade didn't bend any more from this. That's still what happened from just the failed tatami cutting. Anyway, so would I recommend this sword? Absolutely not, for obvious reasons. Even if you wanted just a wall hanger, just something cool on the wall, it doesn't look as good as it could, because even when the guard is together, it's not very nice. Right? Like, okay, the blade is cool. So I suppose as a project blade, you could get that and then customize it to your liking, but then it should be cheaper, in my opinion, to make that worthwhile. Yeah. Either way, I'm not interested in sacrificing any more tatami mats to try to make it cut. This is it. That's a test. So, hope you liked it. Thanks for watching. Be careful what you order. But of course, the problem is you wouldn't know. Maybe that's something for the next video. Red flags to watch out when buying swords. I might do that. We'll see. Take care, folks.